Welcome to That Comic Smell podcast. With your hosts,
David Robertson
and Tom Stewart, with special guests, Rebecca Horner and
Catriona Laird.
Shirt. Oh, my hat's sitting at home.
What
Night in the Woods. I've still never played that.
It's so good.
It's
really good. It was my favourite game of last year.
It's a game.
Can you get it on Mac, on Steam?
Yes, because I've got Mac, so you can definitely play it. I think it's also on console now.
I got it on PS4, so
yes.
No, I'm not that affluent. Literally still on a 360 that's dying a death. I've always wanted to play it.
Who's your favourite character?
Oh, I can't choose. I love them all though. They're all my children.
Because I'm like hardline Beatrice is my favourite by far.
I can see her in you. So
yes.
I'm a big fan of May. So, but also Greg.
Yeah. Stabby stab stab.
Stabby boys.
It's good. You should play it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a go. I keep seeing it's a bit kind of like from the visual you wouldn't be able to tell what it is, and then loads of people speak about it and I'm like, okay, that's totally different from
It's got a very deep story.
Yeah.
And a lot of just like fun mechanics. It's not like you just have to keep clicking and then the story unfolds. It's like you have like stuff to do and choices as well. Like you can choose to go down one path and talk to these people or these people. You don't get to talk to all of them in the same run through of the game, which I didn't know the first time. So it's got a lot of replayability, and also they've updated it so it's the Weird Autumn version now. I don't know if that matters on PS4. I think that you might have just had the Weird Autumn version, but it has extras. Yeah, it has extras which I haven't actually played because I played it when it sort of first came out, so I need to replay it. But I'm replaying it for a friend. I want to stream it for her because she hasn't played it and I want to experience it with her. But she lives in Finland, so streaming the only way.
Yeah.
Unless she comes to visit.
What, just streaming to her or streaming it on Twitch?
I might do it on Twitch and see if anybody else wants to join in, but sometimes it's just like private.
Yeah. I've only just recently discovered Twitch. I feel like a proper old man when it comes to gaming now. I'm like, oh, this Twitch thing with people playing games, it's lovely. Yeah, it's really strange. It's such a concept that shouldn't work, but it does. Well,
YouTube's borked, so nobody wants to upload on that anymore, so the best thing is just to stream and then put the video up on demand later on for other people who are in different time zones to see.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about yourselves.
So, do you want to be centre of attention first?
No.
Just who you guys are and where you're from.
Well, I can do my interesting spiel of how I got into art because everybody goes, oh wow, I didn't know that. Because I failed art as my higher, so I had to resit it and I only got C. And then I did forensic science for 2 years and dropped out because I can't do physics. So I spent a year miserable and going to the job centre and being more miserable, and then went to my granddad for art lessons because he's a painter. So he helped me with a mini portfolio to get into a portfolio course at Dundee College. So I got into that, and then from there got into second year illustration at Duncan Rodenstone, and then came here.
Wow, that is quite a...
Yeah, it's a bit weird to go from such a science to go from art to science back to art, because I thought in that time, I failed art, so I can't do that again. Oh, I failed it. So
yeah, but that's what school does. School just makes you feel
School
bad
never
for
said go to college.
No.
They said go to university. Also, we have a really high dropout rate, so don't do that. And then I went, that won't be me. Oops. It was.
Rebecca, yourself? Sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot,
if we're going down an education theme, like I dropped out of primary school and was homeschooled for a couple of years, then went to college.
Cool.
And
what was homeschooling like? Sorry, I'm totally derailed.
It was just my mum who was forced into it because we wanted to do it. So it was fine. It wasn't very structured. I had to be up early every
Okay.
day and do some kind of work, and then it would kind of peter off in the afternoon. But that's given me good motivation, because like I like to get up in the morning and get things done. Because it was
Yeah.
a sort of, if we don't do this ourselves, nothing's going to happen.
Cool.
But then I went to college when I was 15 and did a games course and then an animation course, and then I went to Abertay for half a year and then dropped out. And then put together a portfolio to get into Duncan & Jordanstone, got rejected, went to college for another year, put together a portfolio and got into the foundation year and did animation, and now I've got a master's in comics. So that worked out okay.
It's really strange. Like everybody's inroads into comics is always like totally roundabout, and there's never like a straight like, oh, I did like I wanted to do this, so I went and did a course on comics or whatever. Like everybody always starts off everywhere else apart from actual.
Yeah, it
It
in
makes for
comics.
better storytellers, I think, when you've got an interesting path
Yeah,
to
yeah,
how
absolutely.
you ended up doing a thing, as opposed to just, I went through primary school and then secondary school and I was great at everything, and then I did high school and I was still great at everything, and then I went to university and I got my degree, and now here I am making boring comics about boring nothingness, probably.
Yeah. You tend to find that the folks that just kind of churn stuff out that's very mediocre, it is a thing of like, I always knew I wanted to do this since I was a kid, so I focused and did this at school, and then you're like, oh yeah,
There's Wonder
that
Kid.
explains everything. Like, explains the back catalogue of complete mediocrity.
Were you sitting, either of you, working on comics in school? Well, not in high school in your case, Rebecca. But
I would copy out Calvin and Hobbes
Yeah.
strips, or try and recreate my own ones of those.
so I'm wondering what kind of reaction you would get at school sitting doing comics. Because when I did it, but way before you guys, it was just a non-event. You know, if you were sitting drawing comics in class, that was akin to sticking chewing gum on the wall or something. You know, that's not what you were meant to be doing.
Yeah, I think my primary school was quite good for doing a lot of art lessons, I think.
Yeah.
Less so than it is now. So I was always, whenever an art thing came around, they would do like a poster project or something, and everybody would want me on their team. But I didn't tend to do it outside of that. Like I did quite a lot when I got into high school, and I couldn't stop drawing in the sides of notes and stuff. That was how I knew in forensics that I wasn't supposed to be doing forensics, because every space between this chemistry formula and this had a drawing in it, and it was just my characters, and I was just drawing whatever came to mind to just be anywhere else than here.
Yeah,
So,
that's good.
And also when I was younger, I didn't need to draw that much in class, because me and my sister would draw. Basically we redrew Digimon as the entire story, but just with us as the main characters instead. And the
That's
paneling was atrocious. I look, because I still have them all, and the paneling is like, I've just written a bunch of stuff, and the panel goes right round it. It like goes around the letters, and then it has like a corner maybe, and then the next, but it's not straight. I didn't use a ruler, so like the panels all go down the side of the page, and they're all like squint. You kind of have to look at them from an angle.
Nice.
But yeah, I had that outlet, so I didn't need to draw so much in class. I actually wanted to pay attention and be good at spelling and things like that.
Good.
Also, didn't have very many friends, so that's a thing.
So you both were basically quite arty, like growing up and everything as well. Like you just always doodled and drew and
Yeah.
everything.
I used to do a lot of photography. Like for a long time I wanted to go into film and do like cinematography, but I had no idea how to go about doing that. But I think that because I now sort of specialise in colouring, it's kind of the same thing. It's like you're in control of how the look and feel of everything is, which is the thing I was always interested in doing.
Yeah, giving
Just didn't
everything a
know
mood.
that I would do it in comics.
Just giving everything an overall mood and kind of telling a narrative from an outside view in a way,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah, it's it's a weird thing, like when you start off with stuff like film and animation and all that kind of stuff, that you start to discover a totally different perspective on things like that. Like even just looking at a picture and being like, "Oh, that's wrong." Like that's
Yeah.
everything that's totally wrong. But it is that film mind of like seeing everything through a lens as opposed to just on the page kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like when do you think comics kind of took over for the pair of you? Like when was it like this is it, like 100%, like I'm cemented in comics from here on out?
I know exactly when that happened. So for animation in fourth year, you pick 2 things to specialise in, and in the second semester and third year, you sort of try out different things. And that was the point where my tutor just dropped randomly into a lecture, "Oh, is anyone specialising in comics?" And I was like, "Me." And then it was like, okay, I'm doing it. And then my friend Helen was going to specialise in it as well, so we were going to do our group project together. And then fourth year was just comics, the whole year.
Is that Helen
Robinson?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You work with her a lot.
Yes.
Right.
She is my artistic other half.
Right. Okay.
Don't tell Nari. But he also knows.
He'll hear soon enough.
Yes.
Yeah, what about you, Catriona? When did comics take over?
It's really difficult to say because I've had them in my life since I could probably read, I think. Because my dad obviously worked at DC Thompson's, so he would get all the syndication copies of the Beano and the Dandy and Animals and You, and he would bring them home, and then they would pass from sibling to sibling. Sometimes I had to read them to my younger sister, but not for very long, because, you know, obviously it was like more fun for me to read out to her than her have to struggle reading it.
Did you do voices?
I did voices, yes. She will attest this. I still do voices. Yeah, so it's difficult to say. Like, I think in that sense, it almost makes it more clear when I sort of decided that I wanted to do this, because I'd had them for so long that they just kind of became background to me. They were just like another form of book. They were another form of thing to read, thing to make. And then I think maybe it was the comics module that I thought, oh, I can actually do this. Like, I can actually like make a proper comic as opposed to just redrawing Digimon and Pokemon with me as the main character. Now I can do it and claim that it's my own original idea. So I think it was the comics module, because that was the only thing I got an A in, like a definitive, you are good at this, have an A stamp. I think that was like the first time that I realised, like, oh yeah, I can actually make comics and I can tell my stories this way and be happy, and yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like you kind of get like an abundance of ideas building up as well, and then you just have to get them out on the page?
Yeah. It's difficult because obviously, like, you know, if you're trying to be freelance, you have to balance out which ones are going to make me immediate money and which ones are going to be like slower projects, but that I can be really passionate about. And that's what Chimerical is for me at the minute, because I'm able to put aside time to make a chapter every so often, and then I get to release the chapter slowly online, and then that gives me enough time to sort of build up more around the frame of the next chapter, and then also do stuff in the background. So I've always got something to post, something, even if it's just another comics page every week. It's something, and it gives me stuff to think about for the next one.
It's good, and it's, you know, you say even if it's only just a page a week, you know, I mean,
It's
that's
something.
more than most people will get done. You know?
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, so I think it's the struggle of even getting something like pen and paper a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You can sit and think about something and procrastinate about getting the idea down for
Yeah.
ages, like years. But
Yeah,
if
you
you're
just have to
actually-
do it. You just have to sit down and do it, and it doesn't matter if it's not the magnum opus or anything like that. If you don't do anything, then you've got nothing to show. If you do something, then you've got something. You've got a springboard. You can keep going. And my first chapter, I look at it and I go, "Oh my god, this was a mess." And I look at the second chapter and I'm already thinking, "Oh god, this is a mess as well." But at the time of both of them, I was like, "This is the best thing I've ever done in my life." Holy moly, everyone's going to be blown away by this. And but like, I was so happy doing it that, like, it doesn't matter that I look at it now and I go, "What the hell is that arm? What is that doing?" Because I did it, and people are enjoying it. Because every so often I get like a little thing that says, "Oh, I'm really enjoying this, and I really love your characters and all this stuff. This is my favorite character of yours," and I'm just sort of like, "Oh, that's so nice." And I did it. If I hadn't done it, then I wouldn't be getting these comments. So it's nice.
It's like total validation at the end of the day with that as well. Like, oh, amazing. Finally.
Because if I just kept it to myself, then I would just be saying, well, I like my characters.
So, who would you say has like influenced you to choosing comics as a whole? Who influenced you to make that jump?
Interesting. I don't really know. I think it's been such a, for me anyway, it's been such a slow build up that it will be, from very young, it would be people from the Beano and the Dandy who were making things. And then slightly older, all the manga phases that I had and looking into all that, and then actually making them myself. I think I was the biggest influence on me doing it, I think, in that sense. Like, there's a whole lot of people whose work I really like behind the scenes, and then there's me who says, do it. I think that's how I feel about it, influence-wise.
It's almost like taking everything in and then being like, well,
yeah,
no, I'm going to do it my way kind of thing. Yeah.
I feel the same way about that. For me, it was a kind of, I always felt like I had to prove myself before I could actually do it. And then when we got the comics module, it was a brief, so you had to make a comic. And then I did it, and I was like, oh, I can make a comic. And then people have consistently kept asking me to do something comics related since. So it's just like, do it. But the one thing was we had James Devlin visit one week, and he noticed the colours on my page, and he said something like, it was just interesting colour choices, and have I thought about being a colourist? And that just sort of sowed a seed. And I've just sort of run with it, because it was like, oh, I've been given permission to I can do this, because it hadn't occurred to me before. Like, sometimes you need to hear it from somebody who you don't know.
Yes.
Because
Exactly.
you can spend all this time in your own head, like, overthinking things. And
Yeah.
then someone's like, just do it. Though you, David, are good for that as well. Because your attitude is just do it with comics.
Okay. Good for something.
It's like
So modest.
yeah, it's
I'm
that.
thinking back to, you two have reminded me of, I used to walk around years ago thinking, I'll get really good at drawing, and then once I'm good at drawing, then I'll be in a good position to make a comic.
Yeah.
And I can remember, I've just remembered thinking that, and then just waking up one day and going, wait a minute, that's insane. If I'm waiting until I can draw, I'm never going to do a comic. You just got to sit and draw them, they look terrible, then you go and do another one, and hopefully you get better.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? It's true what you said as well about all the different routes everybody takes to doing comics, because there's no set up way.
No. And yet you're led to believe from most sort of influential people within the sort of comics business that there is sort of one end road. A lot of the stories that come out of it is, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to speak to these certain people, blah, blah, blah. But when you actually speak to people who are working and actually doing work within the comics like community in general, most of them are, I just started drawing one day and gave it a shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nobody's saying like, oh, I did this, that, and the next thing.
I think that's the difference between some of the older generation stuff of making like Commando, for example, where it was more of an office job kind of thing, and whereas now with the fact that anybody can contact somebody and be like, print my comic, they can just do that off their own back. You don't have to go through this whole like process of trying to get into DC Thompson's, for example. Like, you don't have to do that anymore. So I think more people are just like free to just start making.
And quite often publishers won't look at you unless you have been self-publishing your own
work.
Like, they want you to be a proven entity, even if it's just off your own back.
But you had said somebody had come in and who was it you said?
James Devlin.
Yeah. Was that somebody that you were...
I
Was that
wasn't-
somebody you look up to anyway?
I wasn't that familiar with
No.
his work beforehand, other than knowing when we knew he was coming in that he was a colorist. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, that'll be a different perspective. But then the fact that he just said, oh yeah, why didn't you do this? I was like, oh, yeah. Because like, even like for as long as I can remember, I have always noticed the colors and things, and I've always liked bright colors, and like and I'll pick up a comic because I like the colors. Like I'll so even if I'm not that into the art, if the colours are really, really nice, then I will read it because I am superficial that way.
I remember sending you panel from some comic and saying, look at this, and imagine that happening in the story. And this was in 1984 writing off, blah, blah, blah. And you wrote back and said, I really like that red sun in the background. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Yeah.
Do you remember the sun?
The red
Yes.
sun. Yeah.
So how did you both get involved with like Inkpot and the creative space and everything?
I was hanging about in the tower building in the comic studio between 3rd and 4th year, so I kind of got onto Chris and Phil's radar, and then through Nari, like, because we knew that this was starting up and there was going to be a studio, and pretty much as soon as they had desks in here, Nari and I moved in.
Right, okay.
So I've been here since day one. Like, we had tables, that was it. Like, this was all empty. We didn't have any dividers. It wasn't all split up into bits. So I just moved in and have been here ever since. And they're going to have to physically drag me out of here.
Kicking and screaming.
How,
It was Damon who spoke to me about it. I was doing a medical comics thing. I had a table at it, and it was just in the Dalhousie building. And Damon came over and said, "Oh yeah, we've got desks in the studio if you want one. Also, a girl has just left, so we would like a girl in to keep the gender split all right." And I went, "Yeah, all right." So, and like at the time I'd just graduated, so I would have had to work from home otherwise. And I know from experience of that 1 year where I was just miserable at home, that wasn't going to be a good routine for me. So actually, like coming in and doing things 9 to 5 was going to be super good for my mental health, basically. So I was just, I think I've been here a year and a half now, I think.
I think you're 2
2 years, actually. Yes, because I graduated 2 years ago. Yikes. That seems about right. And I was in the corner because I was like, I'm just going to set up right here. And then they moved me very slightly, so I couldn't have my wall anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Because they needed an escape route for when there's talks and stuff going on, so they have to come past my desk.
But you do make use of the escape route.
I do make use of the escape route, but every so often somebody scares the crap out of me when they come past because I can't see anything. Because there's like sort of half a wall next to me, and then as soon as somebody comes through, unless they kick the thing behind me, I don't notice them coming in, and then I get a fright.
You need like a rear view mirror. But
I do. I need
like,
one of
so
those.
you can
Yeah,
see
so I need the
people
mirror
coming.
like mounted on the side.
like one of those big road
Yeah.
dome mirrors. And
And I see you coming in.
is everybody that's in Inkthology within Inkpot Studios? So it's not like they're...
There's
No.
a couple
No.
of guests.
There's
couple
a
of
couple
friends
of.
Okay.
in the studio. So
The cover is done by Letty,
yes.
so there's that for a start.
And Helen used to be in the studio, but moved
Yeah.
back to Northern Ireland. And Catherine Briggs
Mhm.
Yes.
isn't part of the studio, but she's been around
Yeah,
since the
yeah.
start. So
Oh, quick deviation. You said you were at Glasgow.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was.
Oh, you were at Glasgow.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It took a while to get anybody buying things, but I think it was because there was so much that everybody just wanted to kind of browse first.
Was it
and then
really
come
busy
back.
this year?
It was quite busy, but it was nice and staggered because they had a lot of events on, and they had some really big names for
Okay.
doing panels and things. So
Who was
the one that I remember because I was a big fan of hers was Jen Bartel.
Oh, okay.
So she was there and doing. She did a panel, and then she had a stall that was selling prints and keyrings and whatnot. So because they had the panel staggered throughout the day, it kind of kept the flow quite nice. So that there were a lot of people in for these panels, and then they came out and they all sort of like dispersed and made their rounds. But in the meantime, people who weren't bothered about the panels were still getting a chance to cruise
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
So the tables weren't ever super crowded.
Okay.
Even for some of the bigger people, like you always had moments where there weren't that many people, so you could have a chat
Yeah.
and whatnot. So it was quite nice.
Yes, so both of you obviously have stories, and you've got you have got Ink Quest in there.
Yes.
You've got your colours on Stellar, and
Yes.
your story is Rain. Aside from having your part in contributing, what other parts did you have within the Inkthology?
I also did a pin-up, and I
Okay.
also put the book together.
Cool.
So I did production on the book.
Okay.
So I'm all over it. Put my finger
It's
in every
all
pie.
What was that like trying to get everybody together?
It was fun. It took a long time because I think it was this time last year that we started planning it.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of different people in the studio, so it was planned with a few other people to be in it, but then life happens.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
people had to
totally.
drop out. But then we had Zoo and Gary come in just after we'd all finished the Masters because we were in the same class.
Mhm.
So we kind of gave them their own deadline to produce something. And for me, I had written Rain and I was going to draw it, but then I had too much other work going on, so
Okay.
that got set aside. And then when Zoo got involved, I was just like, Nari suggested giving my story to her.
Right. Okay.
So she ended up drawing it and I ended up colouring it.
Mhm.
And that was actually the first time somebody's drawn something that I've written, because
Ah.
I don't write scripts. I just like plan out. I plan out this panel's going to do this page is going to introduce this, and it's quite like problem solving lists.
Okay. Yeah.
But
yeah.
she understood it, and like I gave her all the info and gave her my character design, and she went with it and
So-
like put her stamp on it, which was really cool.
So why an anthology? Why, like, what made everybody go for an anthology? What made you go for an anthology?
I think like so everybody would be able to show off like their skills and the things that they're best at. So an anthology would work for everybody to kind of be able to do the kind of story that they would want to do. But I think
It was also like a tangible thing that we could show people to have like our studio exist outside of
Yeah.
this room, you know?
Mm.
It's like we can literally take this and say, these are the artists in our studio, this is the sort of stuff that we do
yeah,
every day,
it's
you know?
a very expensive business card.
Yes.
But it's beautiful.
But
Yeah,
you know,
oh God,
people
yes.
appreciate it.
It's nice. So it was always an anthology. It was
Yeah,
always a thought
yeah.
that was what was going to happen.
Yeah, the first meetings that we had, we did kind of want to make this cohesive kind of story set in the same kind of universe with, but I mean that universe was as vague as like it's fantasy. You
Yeah.
know? So
It's-
we didn't
yeah.
want to be too conscripted, but also like we wanted it to be about the whole theme of like ink pot. So
Yeah.
we came up with this sentient ink idea, and then from there everybody kind of took it off. I got mine done really fast and then had to wait so long to see the result because I work far too fast.
So
In
what?
fact, I remember you sending me one of the pages later because you were like, I've added some details.
Yeah,
I hope this is okay. And I was
I-
like, you've got plenty of time. This
I
is
was,
fine.
yeah, I think that was the bottom of that page. Yeah, it's when you can see Florrie's studio. I was like, it looks too bare. I'm just gonna add in a bunch of other stuff that she can have in her room. And to be honest, I probably could have added more. But
That's the thing that immediately kind of jumped out as I was going through it was the fact that you've got this sort of rune area that
Yeah,
comes up
yeah.
in each one of the stories, and it's nice and padded out as well, so that you're not inundated with it. So you've kind of got it, and then you've got like a story in between, and then again,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
like a story in between.
What everyone did was they pitched their idea and then Nari kind of put it into an order and like
yeah,
made a few suggestions to sort of tie individual stories in together.
Okay.
So I think the thing connecting all of them is that at some point there is this ink disaster.
Right.
I know you don't feel the same way, but
I do feel the same.
like, or what was it? The way you saw your story fitting in.
Well, it was last summer, and the email I got must have been from Nori, and it said there's going to be a theme, and there's going to be like an ink disaster or catastrophe or event, and so the stories will all be concerning this. And it said you can have it before it, or during it, or after it. And I thought, okay. And I thought, well, I don't know anything about it, so it's going to have to be before it. This was my thinking.
Yeah.
So I kind of did my story counting down to this event that they were going to cause to happen in my story.
And then Nari's interpreted that as happening after all the other
Well,
stuff.
yeah, exactly. So that was because I sent it in about 10 months ago. and you'll know that, I mean, mine's has got No, the structure you mentioned, the well that's in the cost, it's not in mine
No,
because
yeah, but you've
I'm
still
the
got-
odd man out.
Well, maybe you're the reveal at the end.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I'm not complaining.
It's like a good
It's
flashback
just-
episode, you know?
Well, like
it's,
Mary said, it would kind of work for like
It works.
turning it into a loop.
yes.
If like at the
Yes,
very
I like
end,
that,
it appears to be in the future, but it's also starting it off. So
Yeah.
you could go back to the
Okay.
beginning
Yeah,
again.
it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you've also got the whole thing of like the ink in everybody's story has some sort of like magical
Yeah.
ability, and yours all of a sudden, powers.
My ink came from the alternative dimension. It was in the
Yeah.
alien's pen.
Was it the pen? Right.
It was in the pen,
Yeah.
he hit the spaceship.
Do you know
with
what?
the newspaper, and then it went back with the ink on it.
I've read that a ridiculous amount of times, and I always thought it just came off the newspaper. And now
Well,
I actually
it could
see
be.
it cracked. This
No, I think Rebecca's mentioning that because I've said to her, I thought mine would be at the start. No, well, I didn't think it would be at the start, but I wrote it with that in mind. This is going to be before the story because I don't know the story.
okay.
And then it was at the back.
I still think it's the flashback episode.
Yeah, I like your take on it. Like it's a loop as well. It goes round and round. I'm just happy to be involved. I'm always happy to be involved,
Was it a case that you approached people, or did people actually come to you?
Guess we're all here anyway, right?
Yeah, we just kind of fired out an email saying like
Yeah.
we want to do a thing all together, so let's
Yeah.
start a meeting and
Mhm.
see what we come up with. So we had like an initial meeting around the couches just to be like, right,
Oh, just
we
like
want to do an
brainstorming.
anthology. What do you think? And then we just did a brainstorming session.
Yeah.
And then that's what it came out as.
And like Nari, because Nari got funded by the Rank Foundation internship to be studio manager last year, and sort of unrelated to that, we got this funding from this entrepreneurship award thing
Cool.
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
specifically for kind of like going to
Projects.
conventions, having a project.
Yeah.
So we had the money to be able to do it, and that was kind of the thing that sparked off because it was like we can do this, so let's do it.
It's a nice product, eh?
It's
And
good.
it was printed by CPUK, who is the god of all printing.
Yes.
And I can swear that all the colours look exactly how they did on the
Yeah.
computer when I put it together, and I just about cried when I saw it in person because that's never happened before.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a good guy. Yeah, I found him because I was needing to print Stinger for my degree show, and I asked Phil at the time who would be the best person to go to, and he sort of said, "Oh, you might be able to go to this guy who I think Rossi had gone to for hers, or this other guy," and the other guy didn't have like quotes on his site,
Right.
and I was sort of like, this other guy seems more approachable. I'll go to this guy. So went to him, got it. I literally like messaged him on the Monday, and that was actually a really funny interaction. Messaged him on the Monday about it, and basically got it on the Friday. But I think it was like Tuesday or something. He sent me the PDF, and there was a blank page at the end. And I said, "Yeah, all looks good. What's this blank page at the end?" And he went, "There's a very good reason for that. It was my birthday the weekend, and I'm hammered." So, and I was like, no worries. So he basically ordered it and sent him everything on Monday, and they all arrived on Friday. And then since then, I was like, I'm never going to anyone else. So I was just like, guys, have you tried CPUK? Have you tried CPUK? And so it just became everybody's staple,
Yeah.
and it's so good.
He printed all of my degree show stuff and answered all of my stupid questions and just made it all very easy.
Yeah, he seems really approachable on.
He really is.
Yeah,
He really is.
like massive.
And we've both been added to the Pantheon.
We're in the Pantheon. It's so good.
Because if anybody sends him in a print file that he doesn't have to like adjust to be the right size. If you
you
send him
follow
a
the
file and it
templates,
works, yeah, that's
you
all
get
it is,
added.
really.
You get added to the Pantheon of
Yeah.
people who can actually set up a document.
Okay.
That was one of my proudest moments.
Yeah.
Was it always to be this size?
In my mind, yes.
Yeah.
I had to fight a little bit for it, but
Okay.
because a lot of the things that come out of DCCS are A4, but they're kind of like floppy
Yeah.
sort of magazine style, and I was like, I want this to be an artifact.
Yes.
It will be
Yeah.
perfect bound. I don't care how thick it's
I
going to
remember
be.
you
It
saying
will be
that.
perfect
I'm
bound.
determined it's going to be perfect bound. Yeah.
It's
It's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
It's just nice quality. It feels like it's not a freebie.
Yeah.
Yes, bang on, yeah. I've been trying to for like the past 3 days, I've been trying to think of what it is that sums it up. Yeah, it's.
I had a
It's really
tutor
good.
who absolutely hated anything being printed A4 because she was like, no, that's just, it's too document, it's too like handout kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
with,
just
with
like
a
you
bunch
can-
of lecture notes on it.
Yeah.
It has to be a different size. Doesn't matter what size it is, just not A4.
It's a really, really, really well put together book, definitely. So, if you don't mind, I was going to ask if you could, Catriona, maybe take us through your story a little here.
Yes. So my story is about Florrie, who is a little witch, and she is sitting there just making her spells. And I tried to make the spell like I was just looking up like Celtic spells and stuff, and I tried to make one that would kind of have foreshadowing. So the may 7 waves of fortune be granted to me is a sentiment to the wave that tries to swallow her at the end. So she is sitting there just about to finish off this big scroll and runs out of ink. So she goes down to the little village. So that, because this is sort of set after Nori's one, I figured that at this point it would have become like a tourist attraction, this big, weird ink well that has magical properties. So I have this, I just decided to make her a tiger. I don't have any reason for it whatsoever. I was like, she's going to be a tiger lady and I don't care. So Briss is like running this little shop, and I imagined it would have little ink bottles in it. So she asks for one, but unfortunately they're all out. So Florrie kind of gives up, but she at the same time doesn't, because she's so close to finishing that spell. So she's just overly tempted, ignores all the signs, and goes into the well itself just to get a little bit, and unfortunately drops her spells in there, and the ink loves this and just explodes everywhere.
Almost grants
so
her
that-
wish like tenfold.
Yeah, I wanted to make it open so that potentially there would be, so people could sort of explore what would happen after this. So like the cleanup crew sort of goes into that. Potentially the rain, from the explosion, there would be rain, ink rain pouring down and everything. So I kind of wanted to make it like, she's just a troublemaker, isn't she?
Yeah.
She just causes a big mess and then runs away. But she's fine because I used her in another story between me and my friend. So she's totally fine.
Oh, okay.
She's just missing in that story, but she'll be fine.
Is that story searchable?
No, not at the minute, because
not yet.
it may end up being a sort of Dungeons and Dragons campaign thing between us. So like we've got a couple of friends who, once I put this campaign together, we might find out what happens to Florrie later on.
Okay.
If it ever comes to a thing, which I've been saying for like a year, it's just difficult because like all my friends are in different time zones. So like trying to organize it when we can all be together is difficult. But I kind of want them to travel through this story, make it what they want out of it. So they've got their characters that they're controlling, and then I'm just doing everything around it. And so depending on their choices, I will shape the world around that.
Nice. Well, that made it a wee bit slightly easier to do it in this sort of, there's no particular time era, but that sort of
Yeah, just as long as it's like after Nori's story.
Yes.
That was basically all I was going on. Just like enough time has passed that people have studied this ink and just kind of decided what to do with it, and of course they just went down the road of let's make it a tourist attraction and bring us some money.
It makes a nice refreshing sort of release after seeing such big manly men all over the page before.
I literally
loads
have
of
no
muscles
I have
everywhere.
no reason that her hair is green either. I just want her to have green hair.
Yeah.
I just did a lot of stuff because I was like, I just want this to happen. There's going to be a tiger.
That's a good reason.
Oh yeah,
That's often a good reason.
definitely. That is the best reason.
I like this sequence you've got here where she doesn't get the ink and then she's looking at the mountain
Yeah,
and
she-
just starts walking up.
You
and,
can- you
and
can-
you've got her thinking.
Yeah, you can see her train of thought. She
Yeah,
goes,
yeah.
I can totally
You've
do
written
this
that in there
myself.
without writing it, and that's good.
Yeah.
That's real comics. So
Show, don't tell.
well
Yes.
Yes, we've went on about that at great length
Yeah.
about different folks writing stuff in
Yeah.
when they really should just leave it blank.
Mhm.
And they've already done all the explaining, and yet there's just a massive
Yeah.
speech bubble being like,
Yep.
"Well, I'm going to go
I
do
think
this
I
now."
will go up the mountain now to get the ink.
Yeah, it definitely.
Oh no, I have dropped my scroll.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm sure it's fine. Oh no, there's a wave.
Yeah, explaining every last
Yeah.
detail away and not letting the work do its work. And then obviously we've got stories in between. I'm not going to give everything away because I don't want anybody to find out. I want them to find out for themselves.
Must give a quick shout out to the next page of Andy Head's pin-up game as a cracker.
Yeah,
Is that why you
that's
mentioned
really good.
Andy? That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
The fact that he's went the route of the octopus, you know, with the ink and all that. Clever guy.
The sort of pin-up bits in between
Yeah,
are
they're good.
nice wee things. You know, he really it's all really broken up really well. Like I say,
That was another, like, I wanted to have the pin-ups in between because the stories didn't lead straight into each other, so to
Yeah.
have a little thing to break up
Yeah.
each one.
yeah, it's nice.
I like them because a lot of them have Flory in them, and I'm like, fan art, yay!
Oh, totally. I think it's a good encouragement for somebody to buy a second copy as well, pull them out and get them up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah!
Definitely. Rebecca, if you wouldn't mind taking us
My
through.
comic is a silent comic because
Yes.
I don't like words. I take show don't tell to extremes. Basically, mine is a little old witch lady, which is probably my favourite character to come up with, who is just pottering about in her garden, and then the ink rain comes, and this creature falls out of the sky, and it has a magical crystal that's powered by the ink in it. And then things happen, which I won't spoil.
Yes. Which the wee thing up, the wee magical crystal is very similar to this little bottle topper right here.
it is.
Which I didn't notice.
I never noticed that.
I was just looking at
Oh, I mean, yes, of course.
Yes, we planned this all along.
I looked
Oh,
at
you're totally right. Well,
That's
that's
really
canon now.
there you
Like
go.
something I purposed, because by the time I was colouring Rain, I'd coloured Stellar ages ago. And
Okay.
so I had the pink because I'd coloured pink in the sort of magical altar-y
Yeah,
bit
the
in the
little
first one. So I did that for consistency.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
you can really tell with the watercolor pin-up with the tiger behind because you can tell like that's watercolor and
Yeah.
like, it's printed
Yeah.
properly
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the time it can be so washed out.
Yep. Totally. I like the folds
Yeah,
in the
Yeah.
middle as well. Makes it look like a
collect all
proper.
forward to create an official movie poster.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're also like adversely different, but somewhat the same as well. Like I know I keep saying like there's like that over theme of the ink and everything, but
Yeah,
it's just so like it's really
everyone's got
refreshing.
their own unique stamp on it as
Yeah,
well. which is
totally.
cool. And like Children of the Well is interesting because Gary penciled it digitally, and then Nari printed it out and inked it on paper. And it's really weird if you're familiar with both their styles because when you're looking at it, it's like, oh, this looks like Gary drew it. Oh, it looks like Nari drew it.
Oh, it's
I remember seeing
Nori, but
some
it's
of
not.
like their styles, there's some similarity,
Yeah,
or something like that. But I didn't actually know that. I didn't know the division of labour on it. I mean, it just says by Gary Welsh and Nori.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe Gary wrote it and Nori drew it or something. I was just guessing. I didn't realise Nori actually penciled it. No,
Gary
wait a minute.
penciled it.
No, Gary
Gary
penciled
wrote
it
and
Nori
penciled
inked
it, and then Nori inked it.
Right. Some of the poses, like the guy running there, can't you fool see he is deceiving you? That's quite super heroic,
Yeah.
which I would think more of Gary than Nori.
yeah,
So there's, I guess, once you know, there's wee clues.
yeah.
It's
definitely.
grim, the ending of that, isn't it? I want my mummy, lost child,
Yeah.
your mother's gone now. End. Finn.
Yep.
Gone. I mean, that's tough.
Well, even the end of Stellar, even though it's quite, even though it's still quite a wee bit more light-hearted, it does have a wee kind of
Ominous.
yeah, very
Yeah.
ominous
Yeah, it's
undertone.
Yeah.
Like
A life on its
Yeah.
own,
this is shit's going to kick off a wee bit. So,
I really liked the dialogue in
Yeah.
Stellar
Yeah,
because it's
It's really
so
fun.
silly.
It's
so
got
fun.
humour, isn't it?
you're dead good at doing signs.
Get off me, you dafty.
Yeah,
it's really the Michty me that gets me.
Yeah.
I didn't
It's kind
know.
of like because it's such a huge, like, it's a cosmic event happening,
Yeah.
and then it's just saying stuff like Criven's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jings.
Oh, I regret everything.
Yeah, that was like that was a good like a shock all of a sudden. Like just this sort of wee dialogue going back and forward, and then just like apocalypse like across here.
Yeah.
I can't get over how well put together it is. It's really nice, really nice. And it's a good size because you don't see enough like this. I was quite taken aback seeing your stuff this size, David. Like a lot bigger
Mm-hmm.
because you've normally got it about
Yeah, my books are smaller, yeah.
a fraction
Yours
of the
like
size.
UK standard UK size.
No, I've always went through Lulu.com, so it's American sizes.
Mm.
So it's not quite A5.
Yeah.
It's a bit wrong, which always appealed to me.
Oh, like your standard sort of floppy marble
no,
size or whatever.
Yeah, the Americans.
Mhm.
A4 is different than A5.
Yeah. So did you have a sort of time scale for everybody to get all their submissions in, or was it just like
Vaguely.
vaguely,
Or
was it just like
there was a deadline, and I think it was the same weekend as Thought Bubble. And a couple of people said at Thought Bubble that they weren't going to get anything in, which was fine because stuff happens. But then it was kind of like, don't think we have enough people in this book. So
Yeah.
right?
But then with Sue and Gary, kind of gave them until January, I think, to get stuff in. And then part of why I worked with Zoo and Nari worked with Gary is because they had other stuff going on, so it was kind of
Yeah.
like working together to get it done. And then the funding got held up because it was released in 2 bits, and it was a sort of case of justifying every bit of money you've ever spent, and then at some point they get round and look at every receipt, and then they're like, okay, we'll release the next lot. So it sort of became silly things would delay it.
Yeah.
It meant that we got to spend more time on it, and it's benefited from having the extra time.
It's it's actually quite a quick production rate for it, because you said it was about this time last year, didn't you? That it was kind of the concept was kind of kicking about, so that's still quite quick to bang it out for April the following year. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's not that unusual for it to take
yeah,
that much. I mean, I said I did it 10 months ago, but I wasn't complaining. I just got an email last week saying that somebody's accepted something, we're going to print this, and I sent them it 3 years ago.
yes, see, like
And then it
Slow. Yeah.
it's the fun submission rate of
I
comics.
just wrote back and said, I'm just glad to be involved.
Yeah. You submit quite a lot, don't you?
Yeah.
That's a good thing, though. I'm not saying it like you submit a lot, don't you?
Do you know, I don't know about you guys, but it's not like rejection so much, it's just being ignored. You know, like a certain amount of time goes by and then you think, right, I don't think they're using that then,
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is irritating.
which is different than rejection.
I think the best rejection I got was I got rejected from Dirty Rotten Comics
Yeah.
7 or something, but they suggested sliced quarterly and sent me that way, and then I ended up doing a couple of things for them.
That's good.
So
That's cool.
it was productive because it was
That's
like,
very useful, yeah.
your stuff's too experimental for us, but this is
Yeah.
an experimental
Yeah.
anthology. So that worked well.
Was that for the slice that's already out, or coming?
It ended up in volume 1. But it
Right.
was before the first Kickstarter.
Yeah,
So my stuff was in the first book that was kickstarted.
right, cool.
Though that was only about a year and a bit.
Yeah, well, at least Ken's smashed out that second
Yes.
one pretty quickly. Is he not releasing them as like individual issues as well, and then the sort of collected thing?
The individual issues are free on their website.
Yeah.
So he does them as PDFs, and then I think collecting them is just so it could be a physical
Yeah, an actual thing.
thing.
Yeah, he's something else.
And he's got cognition as well.
Yeah.
And
I just got all that stuff through yesterday, day before.
Cool.
Got all that through the day before. So he's on fire.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It is utterly ridiculous. He does it all himself as well, I think.
Yeah.
Which is insane. I look at the amount of stuff he's putting out. He does it whilst working a job as well. It's like, no way. You must be sleep deprived like hell. So whereabouts have you been sort of targeting it? Where have you been putting it out?
So far, the only convention it's appeared at is Glasgow. Just
Yeah.
'cause of timing and like Dunfermline
Yeah.
got cancelled.
Yes.
So currently, a couple of copies are going to be at San Diego at the Dundee Uni table
Okay.
for people to look at. And we're also going to be starting a big cartel store page for the space. So we're going to be selling Inkthology through that, as well as the workshop comic club
Oh, cool.
comics. I'm going to take one to Thought Bubble with me and be like, look,
Yeah.
I worked on this.
Yeah. You should take a bunch along for trade. Give it to loads of different people. And get something out of it whilst you're at it. You're saying a big cartel, for like, so that'd be for the actual Inkpot studio as well. So
Yeah.
is that going to have like some of the artists from the Inkpots work on it as well?
I don't think so, just
No.
for like ease. That
Okay.
everybody can like just sell their own stuff.
Yeah, I use Etsy
independently.
for mine.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So I've got my own
Everybody's basically
shop,
selling
yeah.
their own ones.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Because like the idea of Inkthology is that the proceeds for it go towards future cons and
Yeah.
hopefully another
Another
anthology.
anthology. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So just now it has basically just been like target the cons as much as you
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
Okay. I was just like, I did wonder if you were maybe putting it out to even just like local shops or anything like that as well, because I mean, like you can always
That is
approach.
a good point. I wrote down on a bit of paper like speak to Ahoy and local places, or even Forbidden Planet, because they take.
Yeah.
I've seen your stuff in Forbidden Planet all over
Yeah.
the place.
That's where I finally realised that that's how people get their stuff in, is when we just went up and went, you want
Yeah.
this?
come on,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. Did you think it was like a really refreshing thing getting this all together, or was it quite a challenge to get it all put together and get everybody together?
Bit of
and-
both.
Yeah, like the more people you're trying to coordinate, the more difficult it is. But once it was all in, it was just
Yeah.
Mhm.
make a file.
Yeah.
And like so I got to a point where I was scrolling through everything because I took all the artwork and put it onto Rich's perfect bound template, so I knew every single page back to front by the end of it, and I had like gone through it so many times and it's like, yeah, this is fine. It's like I've seen it 100 times, but then when it actually appeared in physical form, I was like, my baby, it's born, it's beautiful. I was just like running up to people and be like, look at this.
It is that thing though. As soon as it comes, it's just like it's going to be like eye watering to see it in front of you. Just like, oh my god!
And
Yeah.
like the orange on that cover on Letty's,
It's so nice.
like I love Letty's colouring anyway, but it just pops.
I really
out
love this
beautifully.
cover.
And then
Really
with
love
the title, Nari hand drew with an inky brush
Mhm.
the title.
It's very Japanese brush, sort
Yeah.
of like flag painting almost.
Mm.
It's really nice. So, what was the idea with the cover? Was it just sticking with the theme with what was going on inside, or was the cover done
I
it
think
different?
for the cover, it was like to have something representative of all of it, so all the
Yeah.
characters are
Yeah,
on
so
the
Florrie's
cover
down the
somewhere.
front, and then you've got the grandma character.
Oh my god, I really don't notice things. I'm
I,
now looking at
Florrie
like,
was
oh,
the
yeah.
first thing I saw because I was just like, oh, it's more fan art. I am very vain.
I went on the Facebook group and I saw it and I was like, oh, great cover, I love it, you know. And then Nori wrote, yeah, one of my favourite bits is your frog guy on the back there, David. And I was like, oh, yeah, I like it even more now, you know.
I like in your comic, Catriona, like when the ink runs out, I can feel the sound of like when you run out of ink. And
that was
little
very
scratch.
important to get that across because I hate that so much. This is why I'm digital, because it's horrible.
So do you both prefer sort of working digitally?
Yeah.
Yes.
It just saves paper as well, because if I just drew it, if I had physical copies of everything I drew, I would be drowning in paper constantly, because I draw so much all the time, and my hard drive does not like me. It's constantly like, oh, your startup disk is getting a bit full, and I'm like, well, I guess all 2015's work's going onto this hard drive. Whoop.
Yeah.
Away you go.
Is there any plans for a follow-up, a number 2, or is it just on to something completely different now? As I smack into the table. So.
I would definitely like to do an anthology of some description.
Okay.
I don't think it necessarily has to follow the same theme as this one. I think
No.
this is like a nice self-contained thing.
You could have like little cameos in the background.
Yeah,
Or,
build,
like,
build up that
somebody
lore,
could have
you
like
know.
toys of the characters
Yeah,
on
that
a
would be
shelf or
cute.
something.
That's cool. Is there any other projects that the pair of you are working on individually at all, or anything that you've been?
So many things. I'm like trying to get commissions out of the way so I can have a holiday for the first time this year, really. And I'm doing a graphic novel at the minute called Nasty Girls, and I'm very excited about it because I think it's going to be good. This is the first time I haven't ever done the colouring on something I've done. So seeing that come back when I send the inks off to our colourist Gabby Epstein, she comes back with just the most amazing vibrant colours, and I'm just like, what? I would have never thought, because in my mind it's very like my colouring as I'm doing it. And then when it comes back, it's just totally different. It takes me just a second to get used to it, and then I'm just in love with it.
Yeah.
So Erin Keepers is writing that, and we are going to have the Kickstarter in August. So
Cool.
it's coming up, but I need to take a wee bit of a break before that. But I'm definitely further than halfway through it, like actually inking it. I'm probably about probably got about a quarter to go, and then obviously it needs coloured, but it's going to be really good.
Nice.
I
Nice.
can't wait to read it.
Yeah.
So you've got loads on the card just now.
I'm not happy unless I've got like 4 or 5 things going at the same time, because I like to jump around different things. But as part of my internship as workshop coordinator, I'm doing a workbook on comic activities directed at like the kids that we work with.
Oh, cool.
So it's like for 10 to 14s, and that's quite a big project.
Mhm.
And I'm also colouring a different Erin Keepers project, which Nari's drawing, which we're hoping to pitch at a convention soon once
okay.
it's done. And it looks pretty good. Like, it's the sort of thing that I wasn't meant to be colouring it, but as soon as I saw Nari's pages, I was like, you have to give this to me, because it's even better than anything he's done before. And I tend to work production on a lot of the projects that come through DCCS now, just because I like to do the kind of organisation-y things. And I'm doing a cover for a couple of them as well. So we've got a lot of healthcare projects coming in. So we've got a suicide awareness comic, which Catriona did one of the strips for,
Yep.
Nice.
and I did another strip for. And we've got an organ donation comic and a comic about heart disease and all kinds of things.
Are they all through the uni, or?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Cool. I was wondering if that was or like a health centre would come to you and like, right, we've got these.
Well, the fibromyalgia one, the NHS sort of.
Yeah.
Actually asked.
And
Yeah.
with organ donation, that's being done with NHSBT, which is their blood and transplant.
Oh, okay.
people.
Right.
So it's through the uni, but like it's
Yeah,
working.
it's like a
with-
partnership with NHS
Yeah.
branches and stuff, which is nice, because it means that they get quite a lot of traction when they put them on Facebook and stuff, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that follow that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to say, are
nice.
they trying to aim them towards like just the general public, or
Yeah.
towards?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I didn't know if they were maybe like actually trying to give like kids an understanding of it or whatever.
There's
depends
an
on the
element
project.
of that.
Yeah, so sometimes there's one that they're talking about doing, which is a kids book, and it's going to be about nursing and actually directed towards educating kids, which hopefully I'll be in talks with people about doing that one soon.
Okay.
But yeah, it just kind of depends on what the subject matter is. Sometimes it's more about the autobiographical or biographical sense of it to get that understanding to people who have no take on it because they don't
Yeah.
suffer from whatever it is.
Yeah. Is are any of the health ones actually for like charities or anything, or are they all just to raise awareness of some sort?
There's like in coming up with the stories, there's been a lot of collaboration with different charities to sort of so it's authentic and to make sure that it is like getting the information that needs to get across.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, you can never have too many sort of sources of people that actually know the ins and outs of things when it comes to medical stuff, especially. Like when I was thumbnailing stuff for the suicide awareness one, and I had to design a mental health ward room, I just drew a bed, and they said, oh, you can't have a bed like that because it can't be. You're not supposed to be able to move them for various reasons. So I had to make a big, heavy bed instead, and I had to make it, and you couldn't have like blinds with a chain because obviously, like, you know, mental health, somebody could potentially use that.
Yeah.
So it has to be like a specific shuttering thing, and it's very difficult to find references for that. But it was all the nursing students were just like on it. They just knew, like, I was drawing something, and they went, "Well, you can't have that. You can't have that." But it's really important for it to be authentic like that, because that's something that somebody, because obviously, like, people who are in that industry are going to be reading these at some point, and they're going to see something in the art that's like, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. This person doesn't know what they're drawing.
Yeah.
And I think that would annoy me if somebody was picking out things in my, like, some of it's just like whatever, but if it was something big that I missed because I don't have that understanding, I would be annoyed at myself.
Yeah. That's like that, the small details to the right person can be a big thing, sort of thing, which is a bit...
Sometimes it clashes with like a narrative, like you need to be able to see something, and like you just wouldn't be able to see it in a normal setting, but like you just have to put it aside for the narrative, and it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah. The working with the kids now, what is that specifically? Like, what's entailed in that?
What with my job, or like?
No,
the workshops in general.
The workshops in general.
Oh right. So we've got our comic club. So on Tuesdays it's 10 to 14-year-olds, and Wednesdays it's 14 to 17-year-olds, and we're just getting them to make comics, basically.
Okay.
Help building their confidence. And since I've come on as workshop coordinator, I've just bombarded them with worksheets, which they seem to enjoy.
Okay.
So like taking them through the process, and we publish their work every year, and there's some kids who've been coming since the beginning, and just seeing like the change in their, like, how their art has developed. And I think particularly because of like our backgrounds with art, we want to encourage them to just draw and like not worry too much.
Yeah.
Because even just between the younger and the older group are kind of like, oh, I can't draw this, and it's like trying to get them early enough to believe that they can if they just go for it and do it.
Yeah, totally.
And like we've been doing 2 weeks at the McManus, or rather the McManus, the Department of Art and Capers. So I've been there for the past 2 weeks, like giving them, because we're going to publish a book of their work, and there are some kids who just came for the first week and they produced like 4 or 5 page comics in a week, fully coloured, inked, lettered, beautiful. It has a narrative, and they just did it, and it's like, wow.
It's a slight part of you being like, oh, amazing, and the other part being like, you bastards. How dare you have time to do this?
Summer holiday.
Yeah. So, have any of the two you got any convention plans yourselves?
At the minute, not much. There's maybe one in November, but Decon I don't think are doing their second Decon that they tried one year, which I think was September time, because they did one in April and one in September, but I don't think they're doing that again. So at the minute, I don't really have anything aside from maybe the one in November. But it's something that I'm trying. My goal for this year was to try and do more conventions, and then I just missed out on so many of them because they all got booked so fast. Like, so many people are just applying for them. So that will be the goal for next year, is to apply for them early.
Are you going to any? Just like as a general punter?
At the minute, I may be thinking about the other Glasgow Comic Con, the MCM one, but it just depends on what schedule's like. And working on graphic novel stuff takes a lot out of you.
It takes about a large bit of your time. What about yourself?
I don't have any tables planned, but I'm going to Thought Bubble to spend all of my money. It's like comic Christmas.
Nice.
So yes, saving up pennies for that just now.
Cool. Are you just going for a day, or are you going for
I'm going for the full
Nice.
thing.
Are you gonna try and go to as many like talks and stuff as well?
Yes. Like usually I don't, because usually we have a table, so I'm usually tethered to the table. But yes, I will be more free to go to things.
Take advantage of as much as possible. Just anything's going, I'm there. What are you both reading just now?
I knew this question would come up, so I prepared for this.
Oh, did you? Oh.
Yesterday, I read Homunculus by Joe Sparrow, which is out for the last Shortbox, and Shortbox is like the best publisher just now.
Yes.
And they've just put up pre-orders for box 9 today, and I've already pre-ordered it because it's amazing.
Joe Sparrow's
Like
good.
he's the thing about Shortbox is they keep getting my favorite people, like because Joe Sparrow's one of my favorite comic people, and they had Emily Carroll and Rosemary Valero O'Connell as well, and it's just like people I follow, and then it's in Shortbox, and it's like, well, I have to buy that now. So
Joe Sparrow's doing like the tarot cards thing as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
I've
so
got those
cool.
at home.
Oh.
They're beautiful.
Oh my god. So jealous. I always see them come up with the King of Cups and stuff
He
like that as
did
well.
with his partner. They did this like Dungeons and Dragons kind of bestiary, but their own bestiary, and I can pick them up from Thought Bubble if you want to put in a couple of orders with me.
Oh
then
hell
I
yeah.
can make that happen.
We'll
We'll be in touch.
We'll talk about that.
I'm doing business with you.
What about yourself? What are you reading yourself?
I'm not reading a lot at the minute. I'm keeping up with one manga, which is Land of the Lustrous, which everybody knows about from my Twitter because I do nothing but draw it whenever I have a free moment. Which is by Haruko Ichikawa, and it's sort of like a post-apocalyptic world where like the world has basically just like reset itself. So now you've got these living beings which are made entirely of different gemstones. And they have their teacher, and they basically just have to fight these creatures that come from the moon called the Lunarians, which are basically just trying to shatter them and take them away because they like shiny things. So that is currently, I think chapter 70 is going to come out soon, and it's pretty dark. It's getting pretty dark. So I'm keeping up with that one. The only other thing is on Monday I just stopped by Waterstones because I was trying desperately to find internet anywhere. It was a nightmare. But I basically ended up in Waterstones because I had to wait for a bus. And I found an art book by Sui Ishida, who draws another manga that I really liked until the plot got a bit weird. But he does amazing digital paintings. And there was an art book, they happened to have it in Waterstones. And I'd been looking for it for years just because every time I looked at ordering it online, the shipping was quite expensive. And then it just happened to be there on this day. I was having a rubbish day, and I was just like, this is mine now. So, but his comments on it are so funny. Like, he's very Japanese about it. Like, he's very matter of fact with, like, I did this illustration for this, whatever. And like, he even says at the back, like, he doesn't really think too much. Like, after he's done a piece, that's it. He kind of just doesn't think about it anymore. And that's like that's like how the manga work ethic when it comes to like making the comics kind of works. You like once you're done with something, you just have to be done with it and move on to the next thing because your schedule's so tightly packed. But there was a lot of them that were like, because he works digitally like I do, I can relate to a lot of the stuff he's saying. So it's like, I just finished this illustration and then my computer, the program just shut down and it reset everything right back to the sketch. And I was like, no, it was a dark day that day. It's so perfectly written, just as a tiny comment next to this fabulous illustration that he's clearly had to redo from scratch. And it's just great. I'm so glad that I found it that day because it was just like, yes, this is exactly what I needed.
What are you reading just now?
Oh god, what was I last reading? The last thing I read was Craig Thompson's Ross Geller zine.
Oh man.
Thing.
I think I know about that one.
Yeah, oh god, that was so funny. It's just loads of Ross Geller quotes from Friends, but with little illustrations that go along with them, and they're all like weird, like occult sacrificial lamb type stuff and everything that go along with all these little quotes, like when he's saying like my sandwich and stuff like that.
I hope Pivot is in there.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It is. There's a whole bit that's just like on the front page and back page. It's just like little tiny doodles, and and I'm sure it's one of them. It's just like a split in half sofa, and it just has a big, massive ball writing like pivot. Aside from that, I was reading Sammy Boras's newest hourly comic for 2018, I think, where it's the first one she hasn't actually done it. She hasn't actually done it on the day. She did it the next day because she was so busy. She was written in the back of it like feel really guilty, but feel so much better for having actually done it in my own time, kind of thing, and not stress myself out about it. But I like that. She's got a really nice style, and her 24-hour comics, like all her hour slots, are always like, I don't know, they just feel really nicely paced, and she gets a lot in just such a small, tiny little thing. I mean, it's only about that size or something, and it's only a few tiny pages, but it's really, really well thought out.
I really like her inking style.
Oh, it's so nice.
Yeah.
And I don't even play Splatoon, but like
Yeah.
all of her little Splatoon doodles and everything are just amazing. Yeah, she's fantastic. That was one of two of the things I asked Zoo to grab me from Glasgow. Aside from that, I don't think much else. I read My Friend Dahmer for our last
I
podcast.
need to read that.
We read that. Oh, I love that book. I absolutely love it. What have you been reading just now, actually?
I've been reading Steve Ditko. Since he died, I wanted to do a blog
You were the
post.
first person that I thought of when it
Yeah.
happened.
Well, I did a blog post and had a bunch of. I used to like to pick pages from comics, the ones I grew up reading. So I don't give you like, here's the official story of Steve Ditko. That he did this and then he did that and then he did that. I just give you all the ones I read, you know. So it's kind of personal. But I've kind of been stuck in that for a week or so since. Just Steve Ditko, rest in peace. Do you know, rereading his Spider-Man stuff? His Spider-Man stuff is kind of the best. You know?
Yeah.
It's not fair to say it, but really they should have stopped it when he finished. You know, that would have been such a great book, Spider-Man by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko.
Can you not get that?
Oh yeah, you can get it,
Yeah,
but
right.
then there's all this decades worth of, following it. You know,
Yeah.
whereas it would have been this great '60s comic.
Yeah.
And rereading that stuff, I noticed something I'd never really noticed before, which is he starts off at school, but then he leaves. You know, he kind of grows up.
Mm.
You know, Steve Ditko had him he did get more, it's in the story that he gets more confident and he's, but then they had to bin that to keep the character the same.
Where does his run finish?
38,
Right. Okay.
issue 38. And that annual is brilliant. That's one of the best, the Sinister Six.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
Mm.
I still remember, I was rereading through that and I was remembering the excitement when I was a kid of reading that, because I had them all in it and you had to fight them all one by one. And you got a big splash page of them fighting each, and I cut them out and put them on the wall when I was a kid,
Nice.
And then I took them off the wall and then sellotaped them back in. so I've got these pages that have more brown than all the rest of them. And this tatty old comic is I'm keeping this, I don't want an upgraded copy of it.
Good.
But Ditko's a good storyteller,
Mm-hmm.
I can't say anything about Ditko you don't know already.
So, you said you were on Etsy.
Yeah, I'm on a whole bunch of things.
Okay.
So I post a lot of art on Twitter, which is @owlroostart. So there's that. My website is just www.catriona.laird.co.uk. I usually keep those fairly up to date. Obviously, the Kickstarter for Nasty Girls is soon. It's August 10th we've got for that one. So you can find Nasty Girls on Facebook to keep up with that. And there should be some character profiles coming out soon on the main 4 girls, which I've been working on. Otherwise, read Chimerical. And yeah, my Etsy is usually linked on both Twitter and my site, so you can find the issues there.
Awesome. Cool. Rebecca, where can everybody keep up to date with you?
all of my comics are available to read for free on my website, which is just rebeccawerner.com. I'm on Twitter at Reekus and Instagram at Bleekus.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. David, where can everybody keep up to date with you? We never say that.
Just Google Fred Egg Comics.
I don't think we've said where everybody can keep up to date with you since about episode 6. And we're now on
We get
22.
boring saying that at the end.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Just call out into the street.
Fred Egg Comics.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, folks. It was very kind of you to
Thanks
sit
for
and speak
having
about
us.
it. To send us any comments or questions or just to say hello, you can reach us by email at thatcomicsmell@gmail.com. We're also available on Instagram and Twitter at thatcomicsmell. Share the podcast with your friends and followers. We're available on YouTube, SoundCloud and iTunes. And don't forget to rate, review and subscribe. Thanks for listening. Our music is by Chart Smasher, aka John Adam. You can find John on Twitter at JohnEdam, and you can buy the track Dial Up on Bandcamp.